Hello, hello. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I'm Emily, and I'm going to introduce you guys to Jenny Rivers. She is our menstrual doula at Firefly Hollow Wellness Center. We are so excited for what she is bringing to the Hollow. So I'm going to hand it off to Jenny and let her tell you about what she's got going on and what she'll be bringing to us. So, Jenny, it's all yours.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you so much for hosting this, and thank you to everyone that is watching or will watch later. Just your interest in this work is so important. And I've been drawn to this work for going on about 5 years now, studying the menstrual cycle. But really my interest and my passion for understanding women's health, women's wellness, started even before that. So before I became a massage therapist, I was a birth and postpartum doula. And even before that, I guess I'm just like a feminist at heart. Like I was always a little rebellious in school, kind of not hiding my pad or my tampon when I had to go to the bathroom, and kind of like being a little rebellious with that. And I guess I've always just had a passion for, normalizing what's a normal, common body process in women. So I'm excited to kind of share this information with you. And due to technical difficulties, I'm doing this from my phone. So Emily is kind enough to show the slides that I've made for the Celebration Day for Girls workshop that we'll be having next month. Okay, so thank you. And this is a Celebration Day for Girls. This is an internationally recognized program. It just celebrated its 20-year anniversary last year in 2020. And the creator of this was a woman named Jane Bennett. She's an Australian woman, so this originated in Australia, and it's now spread to at least 21 countries where these workshops are being held. And Jane Bennett has written a number of books that kind of encourage a stronger connection between mothers and daughters as they navigate this really special time of girls entering into adolescence, and that whole time of getting the first period and all of that. So you can go to the next one. Thank you. So who is this workshop for? This is for 10 to 12-year-old girls, and it can also be a little bit earlier, maybe 9, and maybe a little bit older too. Even up to 13, depending on the girl's maturity level. And just to clarify too, this webinar is for adults only. So if you do want to share this information with your child, with your daughter, please just kind of summarize it in using your own words, because we do like to keep the information in here more of like make it special, so that they things are a little bit more of a surprise when they actually come to the workshop. So going back to if your daughter has started bleeding already, a little bit of an early bloomer, then she can definitely come, and we just take that as a case-by-case basis. And then this workshop is also for their mother or another female caregiver. So if the mother is not available to come, then a grandmother or an aunt, a stepmother, even a family friend or a teacher can accompany her, as long as it's a relationship that's close in that way. So the workshop itself is spread out over 2 days. So the first session is a mothers only session, and this is usually done the night before the full day workshop, usually from about 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And then the full day workshop is from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So during the mother's session, it is a time for us to kind of just get to know each other, maybe share what's going on in our daughter's life, where she's at in her journey, maybe our own concerns or questions that we have as mothers as we're kind of approaching this time, approaching puberty with our daughters. We'll go through an overview, a detailed overview of the day ahead, what to bring, what to wear, all those nitty-gritty details. It's also an opportunity for the mothers to share their own story of their first period. So this is a really important part of this work. Is oftentimes we don't, as adult women, we don't even really remember what that first period was like. And so it just is an invitation to start thinking about that. And during the mother session, we'll actually, depending on how many women are in attendance, we'll either share as a group if it's a small group, or we'll break out into smaller groups to just be able to share without restriction, maybe the not so positive experiences that we might have had, if we felt maybe embarrassed or ashamed, or if someone said something to us. So this is an opportunity to just be really open and honest, because during the full day workshop, the mothers are going to be sharing their story again in front of the children. And we want this experience to be as positive as possible. And if you've been pregnant before, if you have a child, it's often common knowledge, not to tell that pregnant woman your horror birth stories of like everything, horrible that happened to you. So in the same vein, we can think about that with these girls, and not giving them something to fear, but trying to shine a more positive light on what that experience was for them as best we can. And also during the mother session, we'll go into just how to help support and prepare your daughter at home. I have some suggestions and some resources that I can share that will kind of help educate not just your daughter, but you as her mother, how you can best support her during this time. And we'll also go really into this whole topic of menstrual shame. So this is a pervasive thing through our culture, unfortunately, and the importance of menstrual well-being. And I'll kind of get into that later as to the why this workshop is important. So going into the following day, which is the full day workshop, it starts usually around 10 a.m. in the morning. And this first part of the day is really just getting the girls comfortable. They don't know me, they haven't met me, or maybe they have, but just kind of getting them comfortable in the space, doing some fun activities to get their hands moving. So we have, as you can see in this picture here, one of the main crafts that we'll be creating together is a seed mandala. So there's a red cloth, and there's all different types of seeds. And we use this mandala as a teaching tool to talk about the different aspects of the cycle. So in my work as a menstrual doula, I go pretty in depth into understanding these 4 components of the menstrual cycle. And that's not covered in the celebration day for girls. It's just a very generalized understanding of the cycle, but just recognizing that there is one, and that there's seasons to everything. And so we focus more on the greater life cycle. We focus more on just that, one day we might feel a certain way, and another day we might feel a different way. And that it's important to kind of understand that, these ebbs and flows are normal and a natural part of life, and especially of being a woman. Then we move into an activity called How Many Periods? And this is a really fun worksheet that we do a little bit of math to figure out based off of, what age we would start our periods and what age we would stop. We do some math and figure out actually how many periods we'll have throughout our life on average. And it really puts into perspective, we spend a lot of time in this state. And so having that understanding of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to spend like hundreds of days, bleeding, it kind of helps us to recognize that this is something that deserves our attention and deserves an understanding of what this process is. And then before we break for snack, the girls will have an opportunity to write down any questions that they have that they may feel a little bit too embarrassed, or they maybe think is a silly question. So they'll be able to write that down without their name on it. And then after the break, if you want to go to the next slide, then I will go through and answer the questions that they've written down. And, always, never making a girl feel embarrassed or anything for any question, and just making it as positive as I can make it. And then the next part is pretty fun as well, and it's looking at all the different menstrual products. And again, these are presented in a way that there's not one right answer, so it's just a very objective, here are all of the options, and it's up to you to find what works best for you. And you might have to try certain different things, but I'll give all of the options available that I'm aware of, and that's always kind of fun to play with those and see those. And then there's some feeling cards. So these cards will be placed out, and all of these just have different emotions on them that the girls will be invited to pick one as to how they might be feeling about getting their period. Just as a way to kind of normalize these feelings, and for the girls to see that maybe the other girls feel the same way, and that all of those feelings are welcome and normal, and they don't need to be, there's nothing to be afraid of here, and we can just speak openly about it. And then before the mothers and grandmothers or whoever else is joining the circle, we do a henna activity. So either I, myself, or we might have a guest come in to do the henna, or the girls could do the henna on themselves, depending on how many are coming to the workshop. But while the henna is getting applied to their hands, we'll talk a little bit about different cultures and how they've kind of addressed not just the first period, but just this time in a girl's life that's usually marked by that first period of transitioning from a child into the teenage years. So that's kind of a fun thing that the girls really look forward to as well. And then at 1:30, the mothers will come and join us, and we'll have lunch together, and we can go to the next slide too. And after lunch, we'll all kind of sit around in a circle, and the mothers will talk about a woman in their life that they had growing up that maybe inspired them or helped them to feel good about themselves. And while they're doing that, the girls will have a little craft that they'll be creating. It's just a very simple sewing project of a little felt locket. And there's a little special message that the mom puts in the locket for her. I don't want to give away too much of it, but it's a really, really sweet keepsake from this workshop that the girls will be able to take home with them. And both mother and daughter have had a little role in creating together. And while the girls are working on that, then we'll go around and the mothers will share their experience of their first period or their menarche. Just to give the girls a little bit of an understanding of, maybe the similarities or the differences in these experiences. And we finish up the day with some more cards, and this time the mothers will pick strength cards. So these are all character strengths that they see in their daughter, just to kind of encourage, a witnessing or a positive recognition of some traits that they're seeing in their daughter as she's growing up. And then we finish with a very low-key ceremony where the lockets that the girls have made are placed on her, and then we kind of close out the day with closing the mandala that we've been working on all day, and each girl will kind of get to take a little bit of that home with her. And then I'm not sure if it'll work, Emily, but if we want to play that video, it's just a short, I think it's like 2 minutes. And I don't know if it can go full screen, but hopefully you can still see. That's okay. I don't think we can hear the audio. So I'll just share that maybe on the Facebook page under this webinar if anyone wants to watch that. It's kind of a sweet little clip of it's kind of an old one, as you can see from the styles, but yeah, it's sweet. So we can go to the next one. All right, so why is a workshop like this important? So I'll read you these actual quotes that were expressed. So, I'm so scared of getting my first period. I thought I was dying. Where does the blood come out? I was terrified when I got my first period, and now, age 32, I still hate them. So, unfortunately, we live in a culture, we live in a world that talking about this very normal process that happens in half the world's population's bodies is shamed. And I think it's maybe those tides are turning now, but it's often, we don't talk about that, and girls kind of go into this period feeling really, no pun intended, feeling a little bit unprepared for what to expect. There's a book that actually Jane Bennett wrote, the creator of this program, that's called About Bloody Time. And in it is a fascinating year's worth of study of them interviewing women and their experience with menstruation. And just the number of women who had absolutely no idea what their body was doing when they got their first period, and really being shocked and scared. And so, this work is really trying to normalize this process, normalize this time, and educate in a positive way. And when we understand this process, when we understand what's happening in our bodies, it's a natural evolution, or a natural thing that comes of that we have greater self-esteem, we have greater body image, we have greater respect for our bodies, and we understand this like amazing thing that's happening every month. If recognizing that if none of us menstruated, none of us would be here. So it's because of this blood that we're all here, and it really is truly a sign of health. And so also bringing this menstrual cycle awareness, positive menstrual education results in easier periods and eventually easier births if you would choose to do that. And this is also something that's really encouraging self-care from an earlier age, instead of waiting until our 30s and 40s when we're really burned out from taking care of everything else, that we finally start to turn our lens towards ourselves. We can encourage this self-care process from the beginning, from the time that we start to need more time for rest. And finally, this increased support and connection with our family and relationships. A workshop like this really does help open the doorway of communication between mother and daughter. And even, if you choose to share that with your father or other men in the girl's life, I think that's amazing as well, and very, very needed for the father to kind of feel comfortable and normalized, maybe not sharing all of the details that you would share with the mother, but at least being supportive and understanding of how to support the girl during this time. And this is another awesome video that I will share on the Facebook page. It's an Indian woman kind of sharing in a very artistic way her experience with her first period, and then coming to grips with that and learning to appreciate and honor. So Thank you so much. That's my presentation, and I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions that anyone has. I'm really, really excited about having this workshop next month. I did a little one with my 2 daughters, and it was really, really beautiful and really special. And I can't wait to bring it to the community.
We're very excited to be offering it at Firefly. So we're very, very excited to offer it and to start to share it with everyone and get that information out there, because like you said, there's a lot that even for myself, I wasn't aware of. I mean, I've gone through your mentorship stuff now, and there's a lot of information that we are not given as kids. So I have a couple of questions here. Just before we say goodnight, what is different from what's taught in schools then? What are you offering that's different than the public education?
Right. So when I was in school, from what I know about schools right now, this information is presented from a reproductive standpoint and just basically like the plumbing. And while we do talk about anatomy in the Celebration Day for Girls, it's in a way that's not focused on reproduction and making babies. It's focused more on, because if you think about a girl's life, especially in the world we live in now, she might have 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 children, but think about all the menstruation she's going to have where she's not pregnant. And so it kind of shifts the perspective. And also I remember from growing up and going to health education when I was growing up, it wasn't like in a positive way. It was kind of presented as like it even felt shameful in that context. Like
that was going to be what I was going to say, was that I always felt there was like this shame cloud that kind of surrounded the lessons. Even when we were learning about it, it was always like, shh.
Yeah.
See that,
yeah. And it's like, oh, we're going to give you this like little pad, but you have to hide it and like don't tell Yeah. So this is just kind of shifting that into like a more positive, like normalizing it. It's not just about making babies, there's more to it than that.
That's awesome. That's great. I'm looking at these questions and I think you answered all of them already. So I don't think I really want to kind of rehash it all, because I think if people are curious, they can rewatch the video here.
Yeah.
Anything else you would like to share before we go?
Yeah, I think I'm good. And if anyone has any questions, you can always give us a call at the center, reach out to me, the menstrual doula at gmail.com. If you have, questions that maybe you just want me to see or something like that. So yeah, and I just want to say thank you again to you, Emily. Thank you to everyone who's interested in this work. It is so, so needed in the world that we live in. We're bombarded, especially as women, with messages that we're not enough, that we're not worthy, that we need to be skinnier and prettier and more makeup and like all of those things. And so this kind of thing is so, so needed for our girls to know that they are welcome and they are enough just as they are, and they don't need to change anything in order to be worthy of celebration.
That's awesome. That's great. So we have this scheduled for June 18th and 19th. Is that correct?
Yep.
So 18th will be the mom's portion and the 19th will be the daughter's portion or the girl's portion. If you're interested, please check out fireflyhollowwellness.com. There should be details and you can register there. And like she said, if you have any questions, give us a call, 717-814-9136. You know where we are. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Jenny, have a good night, hon.
Thank you. You too. Appreciate it.